Hello, materials and methods. This is a brief demo on starting your presentation and making advancements. So the blueprint content overview should be self-explanatory. You can read through this. Starting with this slide 3 here will be an example of a project that I'm starting to put together. And I've copied the overview points into the speaker notes. So on this example title page, you can see sort of the suggestions down here of what I think you should include. You can name your project whatever you want. It could simply be like sustainable lotion bottle, or you could give it a brand name. So I'm going to go through slide by slide and just talk briefly about how I set them up. So this could be done with finding the problems, could be done with research or like asking ChatGPT, your own personal experience, a couple of those things in conjunction. This is just a photo I took of a lotion pump at home on some foam core. And then I just added, some Photoshop editing on top of it. So showing you how I set some of these things up. The first thing that you might want to do is some leveling. Let me turn this arrow off here. So levels can be found if you are in your layers and you click on this half moon thing here. There's a setting called levels, and what it does is it applies levels as a layer, and you can play with these sliders to play with the darks and lights for the balance in your image. And so that's what I did, but I ended up copying out the pump and bottle so that it didn't get too blown out to try and make the background look white. Other things you can do for your background that I've done here are adding some like soft brushes around. I've also softly erased this edge here. I ended up needing more white space on the bottom right, but once you add the levels, it starts to blend that out a bit. So these are just some tricks that you can use for your image, or you might also just find a clean internet image. This is just what I did to get exactly what I wanted. Now I'm a fan of sketching over. This was just done in Photoshop using a small brush. This technique here, we talked about like soft sketching, or it sounds like TJ mentioned that. I think one of the keys to soft sketching, and it's a very simple technique that I really like, is taking your brush here and setting the opacity to 50. And that's simply what I did to kind of create these, lotion spots. So if I try and make a new layer here, without interfering with my recording button, so I couldn't click on it a few seconds ago, go to white, and this is basically how I created these elements before. And what it does is it kind of layers them, and I think it gives it sort of that like soft technique and makes it feel not so heavy. And again, that's just simply changing the opacity here. Let's see, so this is just another photo I took. Another setting from here is hue saturation. That's what this one is. If I double click on this, you can always, if you need to re-edit the levels, let's see, selecting it up here, clicking on this little icon here will allow you to play with those colors again. Here for hue saturation, what I did is I just took like the greens all the way down, the yellows all the way down, and I think that's it. I left the rest, and just to kind of clean it up, make it a little less saturated. Filled out the bottom there. So I hope that's pretty clear. I don't think I need to spend much more time on this. Sketched an arrow. When it comes to your case study, I have a link in our announcements today that takes you here. These are popular posts tagged with sustainability. And in fact, did I find mine here? I forget where I found mine. I might have actually specifically searched. Here it is. So this was my case study that I chose. Obviously, you can find case studies from any number of places, but this is just one option. When I clicked on it, I got this. I read the article. This gave me some of the benefits or successes that I put here. Honestly, more research probably could have been helpful, like kind of figuring out what the zero waste air pump actually is and how it actually works. And also kind of being aware, doing some Googling of like what other trends are. This is what gave me the idea of improvement potentials. Now, of course, there are trade-offs, which maybe I can speak to. This pouch just directly goes into this glass, and that's really easy to do. It's not hard to refill, but it just feels to me like it's still kind of a waste. Like, why wouldn't I just use the pouch? Why do I even need this? So I think we can get away without the pump and the pouch. And using dry tablets, like we talked about in class, you're not shipping water. But the drawbacks are now you have to mix the tablet with the water, which I think came up as an issue. And so, my design intervention should make that refill as pain-free as possible. So I need to explore that. Now, as far as setting up this image, Dieline didn't let me like right-click. If I say save image as, it wants to do a WebP file. So I actually found that just copying and pasting it into Photoshop, worked the best. But just to let you know, like, I'm sure you know these tricks, but I'm just trying to cover everything I can think of. I just did a soft eraser around the edge to blend it. I created the background by creating a new layer. And using Alt, I think it might be Option on a Mac, I can select a color here. And making sure I'm on the right layer here, I'm on the brush tool. I want to make my brush really soft. Look at these settings. Oops, this is where you want your opacity max. Right, I'm selecting from the corner so that the colors match. And I'm just kind of filling this all out. And basically that's what I did to get this background. Super big so that I can crop it down in the presentation and get it to fit. Now when it comes to the sketch exploration, what I did, I really like this program. It used to be paid, then it was free, now it's paid again, but the free version is still hosted at this link, which I have in our announcements. I just downloaded it and updated it on my machine like last week, so it worked. Obviously select the version you want. Install was pretty straightforward. Now, one of the keys to this, it's going to load with the default brushes. You want to click on this icon here. And then this is designed for tablets. That's the reason I like this program. I also just like the line quality. You want to look for this little circle. If you hold and drag, you go to Import Brush Set. Hudson Rio is actually an alumni of UIC and created a brush set hosted and featured by this program. You want to click Open on that. Once you do, it'll appear. So here's my Hudson Rio brush set. If I click on here and go to the push pin, it's going to update the brush set here. And full credit to Hudson. This is where I learned this technique of, this color doesn't work well for this. Oh, wait, what's going on? It's because maybe I'm using my mouse. There we go. Where I learned this technique of this like sort of sketching at 50% opacity. And again, that's how I'm getting some of these renderings here, right? If I go grab this color wheel, grab a pink. Ooh. You know what, I'll just select this. That's how I'm creating the lotion in these tabs here. I honestly was probably starting with a darker pink. And it responds to pressure. I have the brush sets on the resources tab here, so you can download this and play with this if you like. Obviously use whatever sketch program you want. I'm just sharing with you all, how I set this up. These are not enough sketches. For my main line work, I'm using the pen tool here and just black. I There is a layer tab. Here it is. You can create new layers by holding and dragging up. And, you know, one of the ideas I just had, well, firstly, okay, so if you hold down B and drag, you'll make your brush size bigger. If you hold down spacebar, it allows you to turn the canvas. So I was actually playing in Rhino, believe it or not, and I had a design that looked somewhat like this, with the intent that threading would go here. I'll show this in a bit. I'll do a real brief Rhino demo on threads. And I realized that this step here would not be good for getting the lotion out because, like I tried to show here in my setup, leftover lotion in the bottle is like, I think, a wasteful moment. So I'm hoping to address that with my design. So an idea that I had, I'm going to hold V and move this over. I can scale it down for more room. Now I don't actually know, I think this is possible. So I'm thinking this is going to be made out of molded plastic. I think if we put the threading on the inside, it'd be kind of an expensive machine, or tool rather, that, you know, in terms of the materials and processes, injection molded, and this would be an inner core that spins out of the tool set. But then we could have maybe a cap that has like a pinch here or something that twists in. It would be really like sleek. It could sit flush. And maybe there's like a paddle in here that somehow mixes as you turn it down and in. And potentially, if this is soft enough plastic, this paddle could also be in like an applicator, so you don't have to get your hands all lotiony or something. I don't know, just a thought. But you know, that's one, I don't know, another sketch idea. And again, these are not enough sketches. I want to, yeah, do a sincere exploration. Keep sketching until you have a good idea and direction. So I'm just going to go ahead and save on this. For what it's worth, you can save as a PSD out of this program, which is what I like to do. Obviously, PSD Photoshop document. All right, so that brings us to here. You could number each idea, put a little number by each one. A very simple thing to do is actually this matrix. So like if this were a client review, they could be like, oh, that sketch going on in like the 1B section, or between B and C and row 1. What's going on there? I can talk about the dry refill tabs. Storyboard, for now, just write out the steps you plan to do. However, you could start to sketch this out. You know, I'm starting to think about, can it turn inside out? If I had more time on this, I probably would start to sketch more people and ideas on here of like, what are the step-by-step of how this all works. But for now, you can write how this uses that. Here, this is going to be your hero shot, and getting into a little bit of CAD. So I downloaded Rhino and have been playing with it. Big shot. I don't know what everyone's workflow is, and I'm new to this, but I have all of these ticked down here because I like the snaps. I set my layout so that I noticed that each minor spacing is 1 millimeter. That's cool. I'm down with millimeters. I did major lines every 25 millimeters, which is roughly 1 inch. So I guess I'm like, you know, I guess not fully committing to either millimeters or inches, but it's just kind of how my brain works. I just upped the grid line count so I had more space. But now I know that this is roughly a 2-inch wide bottle. I want this like smooth bottom. Here's this like jump in for the threading. So yeah, so let's see here. Right now I have the gumball turned on. I'm going to turn that off. Oh, why is this all attached? Okay, so I'm going to do a revolve command to make this into a jar. and full circle, so enter. Oh, wait, what? Full circle, enter. There we go. Now I'm going to click on this, and what is it? Join. Cool. And then I'm going to cap this. And then I'm going to select this, and I'm going to type in shell. And now the shell amount, you know, wall thicknesses are typically at smallest 1.5 millimeters, but I'm going to go 3 since this is like a premium object. But honestly, you know, I did this before and 3 looked too big, so I'm actually going to try 2.5, a little bit smaller. Oh, it won't let me do that. Okay, let's try 2. Oh, no? There we go. Not this face. Okay, hit escape. Shell, enter. 2 is already set. Click on here, enter. There we go. Here's our shell.object. And again, it was at this point that I noticed like this was wrong. I maybe should have put fillets on here. I guess I still could, right? Fillet. Really, you should fillet before shells. Hit escape, Control Z. Fillet. Fillet edge. Can we set the amount? All right, cool. Fillet edge again on this one. We set that to 2. All right. And then, yeah, shell, enter. There we go. A little bit curvier through here now. Okay. Let's see. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to make a new layer just for organization. I'm going to say jar2, and then I'm going to right-click on this and say change object to layer. Now I'm going to, okay, nope, didn't mean to move that. Okay, now to make threads, I'm going to go here and I'm going to type in helix. And it wants me to look for the start of the axis. So I'm going to, I had trouble with like this front view. I'm going to try the 3D view and click on here. I have this like main line. And I'm kind of looking at that front view as I'm working in this perspective view to see where this goes. And there we go. I probably started this too tall. But here we want this to snap to the edge. Actually, wait, I'm going to start this again. Helix. And that's right. I'm going to try and start it with, again, I'm working in the perspective. I'm looking in the bottom left front side. There we go. That's better. All right, and then I clicked here where it snaps. I can take this helix and I can change object to my curves layer. Again, everyone probably has a slightly different workflow. Now it's slightly up here a little too tall, so I'm going to turn this gumball back on, and I believe that I can just drag this down. Wonderful. Because I want this to actually start on my object. So now I'm going to work on my curves layer, and I'm just going to draw, here's where I do want the snaps off, so I turn grid snap off. I'm just going to draw like a basic rhombus type thing. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to type in the command here, sweep, and then select rail. I'm going to select the helix, and then select shapes. I'm going to select the rhombus, and I'm going to hit enter. I don't know what this thing does. Someone tell me, but I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to do road like, and I'm going to click on OK. And boom, there are my threads. The thing that I always forget to do, well, firstly, it's on the wrong layer. So I'm going to select this and right click here and say change object layer. I'm going to click on this and type in cap. I always forget to do this cap. Cool. And honestly, like, I just want you all to start your, your concepts for next week. The final thing I might do would be this. What is it called? Boolean union. Combine is what it's called in SOLIDWORKS. And hit enter. Cool. I think if I click on this, does it get big? There we go. Double click. All right. And then I'm going to screen grab this and drop it into the presentation here to meet my next week's homework requirement. All right, hope that helps. Reach out with questions.